My name's Jared Miguez. I am an attorney, even though I might not look like it. I first want to introduce a few people that are here that are special to me. This man right here who's walking around the white shirt, that's Kyle Berthelot. He's one of the attorneys at our firm. Ms. Tori Miller, where's Ms. Tori?
Right here.
Ms. Tori Miller, she graduated from Southeastern. I'm going to tell a story about Tori, and then my partner Lauren's sitting over here too. So I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them, and I'll tell a couple of stories about them too. The first thing I want to say, they asked me to speak to you guys about the transition from being in school and being in your educational career and moving into business. And so I think that I have a pretty good perspective, which is why if you see this sheet on your table, I titled it Perspective. And the reason why I have all these people sitting at the table with you today is that they all have a perspective that you don't quite have yet, or most of you don't have. I graduated 15 years ago, which is crazy to think about. I had to do that math today. But I still feel like I graduated last year. But I do have life experience that's happened between now and then, and I can tell you about some of those things that I really learned and from Lauren and from Kyle and from other people that are in my life. So on this card, I broke this into two different areas. The first area is about you, and the next area is about your work. And like Dr. Wainwright said, hopefully today you have some ideas you can go and think about, because I think that these are important. I actually spoke at one of y'all's classes in the fall about marketing, and the first thing that we talked about, and the most important thing on this sheet, in my opinion, is understanding yourself, and more particularly the values that you have for yourself. When I was going through college and I was going through the interview process, I was thinking that people were going to grill me, like, who am I? What have I done? What is my experience? What do I want to do? How am I going to help bring value to this company? But looking back on it, having the perspective of somebody being out of school for 15 years and interviewing a lot of people at our firm, it's super important for you guys to understand what your values are and who you are as an individual. And take time to contemplate that, right? And what I mean by contemplate that might mean journal, it might be just sit in your room quietly and think about it, or ask your friends and family to have a conversation about who you are as individuals. Because I'm going to put all the employers on the spot in this room. If you ask them what the values of their organization are, would they know what they are? Or how impactful would it be? Kyle and Tori definitely do know what they are, right? Yeah. How impactful would it be if you walked into an interview and you said, I have these values. What are yours? How am I going to align with who you are as an individual? How do I know that you're going to make the right decision, or the decision that I would make, or a decision that aligns with my values in the day-to-day? How do I know you're going to ask me to do something, not ask me to do something that I'm not comfortable doing? And the only way for you to know that is for you to sit and think and contemplate, what are my values? Who am I as an individual? And you'll have a great interview if you walk in and say, this is who I am this type of person, this is my values, how do my values align with you? You're going to blow an employer away by asking that question and knowing that and thinking about that. So the first thing I put on here about you is knowing yourself, know your values. And what Lauren tells all of our employees is that you should preach the gospel daily and when necessary use words. What that means is you shouldn't have to go around telling everybody what your values are. They should know who you are by how you act. And if you're a genuine human being and you actually live out your values, people are going to know what you're about just by spending time with you. So spend time knowing your values. The second thing I have on here, another thing that Lauren talked about a lot, I learned a lot from Lauren. You can't tell. She should probably be giving this speech, but I have better hair than she does. You have to be able to see yourself, which is an interesting idea. Being who I am, I think that I'm usually right, and that I do a good job of most things that I do. But when I take the time to reflect on who I am as a person and an individual and the talents and skills that I have, I also have to be aware of those tendencies and weaknesses that I have too. And if you know enough about yourself and you're honest with yourself, you're going to realize that I have a lot of strengths and I have some things and tendencies that might get in the way of what I want to do or who I want to be. And they might slow down the production of the team that I'm on. And so we talk a lot about personality assessments, which is one tool that you can use. We use the DISC or the Working Genius assessment. If you haven't heard of it, you should look it up. And if you want to take the assessment, you can reach out to anybody on our team. I'm happy to give you the assessment. What it does is it tells you about how you like to be communicated with, how other people perceive your communication, what your areas of improvement you might have. And what we encourage our staff to do on a regular basis, right now we're doing it every week, is to read your assessment and understand what your areas of improvement are. How can I be better and show up better for my team and for myself and my family? And so another thing you have to be able to do really well if you're going to go into a business is you have to see yourself. You have to have personal awareness of who you are, and you have to understand that for everybody's strength, there is a tendency that may not be something that's productive, but if you have humility and you can surround yourself with the right people, you can go a long way. So the second thing I want y'all to walk away with is see yourself and the personal awareness that comes with that. And a couple other things to think about too. The only person that you can control is yourself. And so when you find yourself in a situation frustrated at somebody else or your situation and you look back on it, take this step to figure that out and solve that problem for yourself. All right, the next thing on the list here about you is be yourself. So you have know yourself, see yourself, and be yourself. And I want to be very careful about how I say this because you see me dressed the way I am, tennis shoes, hair in a bun, telling you that I'm a lawyer. Most people don't perceive a lawyer to dress like that or be that way. And when I first got out of law school, I definitely didn't dress like this. I wore a suit. And I almost wore one today, and I was like, you know what? That's just not me being myself. It's not me being a genuine person, a genuine form of who I am. And I want y'all to know that you can show up that way. Like when you go to work or you go to your next job, be yourself, be genuine. Like show up how you want to show up, what makes you feel the most comfortable. But I also want to say this, you're not entitled to that position. You're not entitled to that right. You have to earn it. You have to show up and work hard and do all the things you have to do in order to be successful. You have to have integrity. And if you show up and you work hard and you have integrity, people are not going to care what you dress like or what you wear. They're going to care about how much value you're adding and if you're spreading the positivity within the community or in the organization. Does that make sense? Right? I want you to be very clear. You're not entitled to that right unless you earn it. I want y'all to know. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Earn that right. Earn that right to be genuine. And the next part about this perspective card here is that understand your worth. Okay? Is this working again? All right, it's working again. So, knowing your purpose. We have a lot of businesses that come to our firm and say, "Hey, I have an idea, and I want to do this. I want to start this business." And when we're helping them form their business, we tell them you have to have a system in which you operate under. And one of those key elements is understanding the purpose of your organization. And most people will say, well, I want to make $1 million or I want to have this much growth every year, which every business obviously has to make money. You have to have the capital and resources to support what you're doing, and that's important. But the second thing is you have to have a bigger purpose and a bigger why. Understanding that money and finances are important, but it's not going to get you through the hard times. Whenever you wake up one day and you're thinking, I don't want to go to work, and then you remember, I'm here to make my community a better place, even if we're struggling and we're in a down market, you can continue to operate knowing that the finances will come back around, but you have a true purpose that you're trying to operate within. A lot of young lawyers come out of law school or people that are graduating from undergrad anybody want to think about going to law school? You want to raise your hand? You got one? Got two? The best advice I can give you before you apply is to figure out what you love to do. What is your most favorite thing? What are you passionate about in your life? Go do that for a little while before you go to law school, or get a job doing that, or go learn how to study that. Figure out people you can network that are in those industries. Because if you go to law school and try to figure out what you're going to do, you're going to have a really hard time. And when you get out of law school, you're probably going to get a job doing something that you really don't enjoy doing. But the law applies to everything that you do. So if you understand your bigger purpose and you know what you're passionate about, what you love, you can go into any industry and apply the law or something else to that industry, right? MBA is the same way. Go do what you love and then apply your degree to that. That make sense? So make sure you understand your purpose, financially and the bigger purpose. Next thing on this sheet, if you read, it says, lean into hard things. A lot of people nowadays feel like run away from doing difficult things. I can tell you, going to school and studying and reading was not my favorite thing to do whenever I was a younger person in school, but I pushed through it. And when I finished and took the bar exam, I looked and I called my dad, who was a very smart man, and I told him there's nothing in this world that I can't do. Because I had gotten through something that was so difficult, that was so hard, that at that point in my life, there was nothing that if I didn't put my mind to that I could do it. But I had to lean into that. My first year of law school, I did not have great grades. I could have easily decided that I wasn't going to finish this hard thing that I was doing. But after I kept working through it and realized what it meant to actually work hard and accomplish things, there's nothing in this world that I couldn't do. Probably couldn't go play in the NBA. Can't jump very high, but there was pretty much nothing in this world that and I was actually talking to a Navy SEAL the other day. He was a good friend of mine, and he introduced me to this idea of type 2 fun. Who's heard of the idea of type 2 fun? No? All right, good. I can teach everybody something there, not even the employer said. So type 1 fun is a type of fun that when you're in the middle of it, you're like, this is awesome. I'm at a concert, I'm listening to this guy speak about work at this conference, and it's great. This is fun. That's type 1 fun. Type 2 fun is the type of fun that whenever you get finished with something, you're like, man, that was hard. That actually really sucked. But that was actually kind of cool and fun, right? You did a hard workout, you accomplish, you get an MBA, you graduate. Like, man, that was really hard, but I'm proud of myself. And if I look back on that, I really think that's fun. And Navy SEALs talk about that a lot. They're like, none of that training was fun. None of that stuff that we had to do to get where we're at now is fun. But if you talk to them, they're all going to be like, that was actually pretty fun. You know what I mean? So I would say lean into hard things and test out some type 2 fun. I think you'll be proud of what you find when you go on the other side of that type 2 fun. And the last thing I'm going to say is a tool that a friend of mine actually came up with, Lauren's husband.
It's called an anchor habit.
Anybody heard of an anchor habit? No, it's okay. 2 things. Yeah, my guys have. So an anchor habit is something that you can attach a new skill or a new habit that you want to develop to. So Jason has some criteria for what an anchor habit is. Right, he says the habit has to be simple, you have to do it daily, it has to have some active element to it, and you have to have some silence too. And so an example of an anchor habit for me is I don't like to leave my house without taking a shower. It's just a thing that I do. Like, a lot of people probably do that, but for me, if I'm going to get up and go and do something, no matter what day of the week it is, weekend, whatever, I have to take a shower before I go. And I wanted to attach some sort of fitness element to my day. So I said, well, what I'm going to do is, since I have this habit where I'm not going to be able to leave my house without actually taking a shower, I'm going to add push-ups to my morning just to make sure that I get those done. And so now before I get in the shower every single day, I started out doing about 15 push-ups a day. That's all I could do. It was probably 5 years ago. And then since then, every single day before I get in the shower, I've done push-ups every single day. I've added to that. And now every time I get before I get in the shower, I do about 60 push-ups when I get in the shower. And what that simple daily active habit that I do in silence has done for me is it's stacked up the wins for me to the point that it's just something that I do and I can be proud of. I get up in the morning, I do my push-ups, I get in the shower, and every single day I can say I did something active. And a lot of people in all aspects of life, they think that they've got to take this big step and bite off this big chunk. But if you just do little things every single day and add up,
things that people necessarily wouldn't do.
If you do those things every day, it's something you can be proud of and you can add to, you're going to get so much farther ahead than other people. So just a simple daily habit will give you the mindset that what it takes to actually accumulate habits over time and do positive things make a huge impact. So those are the things that I think y'all should contemplate. And, if you find me afterward, you want to talk about these things more, I'm happy to talk to you about it. On the back of this card, I have some other things I want you to think about. Okay? I'm not going to go into these in a ton of detail, but there's some things I want you to ponder and what I want you to think about. And if you have time to journal, if you like to journal, or if you just want to sit in a quiet place and think about these things, these are some things that I think about often, and they've made a huge impact on me and my life and our business. So earn your success, embody the person you want to become, always carry a pen. My buddy taught me that in college. Always have a pen in your pocket. Don't hold a grudge, which is important. Never forget how someone acted. Recognize people for their gifts, not their weaknesses, which I think is something that everybody should think about. If you love somebody, tell them. And it takes a lot of really hard work to get to the top of the mountain, but you're only going to stay there if you have integrity. So I hope that some of that meant something to you guys and that you can take something away from today. And like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. But y'all are in a great spot. I want to thank Dr. Wainwright and them for inviting me to come speak today. And y'all have a great rest of your night.